everybody! Welcome to the boardroom, where we play all the games worth playing. Hey everybody! Welcome to the boardroom. Today we're going to be taking an in-depth look at one of our favorite tabletop strategy games, Puerto Rico. Now, Puerto Rico has been around for over a decade, and it's sold thousands of copies. It's available in over 10 languages, and it's actually one of the most awesome board games you've probably never heard of. It isn't exactly a household name in America. It is known worldwide and has won many awards, but it's not something that you'll hear on somebody's game shelf like Monopoly or Candyland. It's not really a game that you hear everybody talking about unless they've played it before and then they've added it to their collection because it's pretty awesome. If you're a fan of games like Carcassonne or Settlers of Catan, you'll probably really like this game. It involves some of the same strategies of resource management, acquisition, building an economy, farming, shipping out your products, your merchandise, trading, and then eventually scoring enough victory points to take over and win the game. Here are some things you need to know. This game is intended for players 12 and up due to the complex thinking and strategy to be fully enjoyable to all players. If you do have a player that's under 12, but they already enjoy board games or get a kick out of problem solving for a challenge, they'll probably still enjoy this game. Puerto Rico takes between 90 and 150 minutes to play. We've played games in less than an hour, but you could definitely enjoy a longer game. This is a great option for parents trying to keep older kids engaged instead of throwing on a movie. 2 to 5 players can play Puerto Rico, but players seem to agree that the ideal number of players is 4. You tend to have the best gameplay and pace with 4 players. Out of the box, Puerto Rico can take a little bit of time to understand. There's a lot of little nuances and rules, and you have to know how to take advantage of different roles in the game. It's also very worthwhile and rewarding once you get the hang of it despite the challenges. After about 2 plays, you'll probably get very into it and want to play again. One of the best aspects about Puerto Rico is that you don't actually know who's going to win until the game ends and the points are counted up, so it could be anybody's game. This keeps everybody interested in playing throughout the whole game. You do have to keep tabs on everybody to take advantage of other players and their moves to be successful. Puerto Rico is not a game based on luck. The only real downside that some players might complain about with Puerto Rico is that you don't really have to have a lot of interaction with other players, unlike other board games. So you don't have direct conflict, and you don't necessarily have the same amount of social interaction as other games. So the game goes like this. For the game, each player has their own separate board, unlike one giant board that every player plays on. On your board, you have different sections where you keep your crops, or your plantations, and a city area to store buildings. Plantations grow crops, and you need certain buildings to produce and store the crops, which go into the city area. You eventually want to ship those crops back to Europe, and that's how you ultimately score your victory points. So think of it like this. You're a bunch of Europeans, you need more money, so you go to Puerto Rico, have yourself a little party, find all the resources, and decide to ship them back to Europe. There are a variety of different crops that you can grow, and they're historically accurate based on the time period. The different types of crops give you different advantages, and some are worth a certain number of victory points. Each person takes a turn, and the story is pretty much the following. You have a bunch of colonists, and they each have different roles, similar to how you have roles in everyday life. There's the settler, the mayor, the builder, the craftsman, the trader, the captain, and the prospector. Now, each of these roles has what is called an action, and in addition, they have what is called a privilege, which is like a bonus that they could do. Kind of like in a trading card game when you have an extra ability, like you're unblockable, or you gain some sort of a bonus that can help you get an edge over your opponent. So for example, a privilege that a settler would have is you could take quarry instead of a crop from the supply of crops. So a quarry, like you're probably picturing in your head, is a place where you produce rocks, so it's always associated with buildings. It always costs you 1 less to produce a building.
So in the first column, you can apply 1 quarry in it. You can apply a max of 2 quarries to this column, a max of 3 quarries to this, and a max of 4. And it makes them that amount cheaper. So the ones that cost 10, if you have 4 quarries, will only cost 6.
So if you play any sort of like trading card game like Magic the Gathering, it'd be like it costs 1 less to play this.
Mm-hmm. Essentially, a turn will consist of 4 phases. Like the governor will pick the card first. So then, like let's say she picked the builder. She would build, and he would build, and I would build, and you would build. And then he would pick the card, and then he would do it, I would do it, and it would go around like that until it gets back to the governor. Then the governor gets moved over. We settle
So
everything, and then
There's 4 phases because there's 4 players, right?
yeah. And all the actions that weren't picked get a doubloon on top of them to kind of entice. It's like, I might not need this, but there's 5 doubloons on there, so maybe I want that. The way that works with what you start out with, whoever's the governor gets indigo, and then the second person gets indigo as well, and the people that go last get corn.
So the main exports you're going to focus on in this game are corn, indigo, coffee, and tobacco. These items are gained through growing them and then processing them or storing them in the case of tobacco. So, for example, you want to grow corn, you can grow your corn and you can ship it off to Europe. There really isn't any in-between step there. But if you wanted to produce sugar, you actually have to take a little bit of time and effort to produce that sugar to get it on your boat to ship it off. Now, like in most real-world scenarios today, some crops are going to be worth more than others, and some require more effort to produce. So there's lots of different strategies that you can use to play this game.
Plants can only be harvested if there's a person working in the fields on them, but the only way you can manufacture them and turn them into goods is by also having a manufacturing plant with a person on it. You see all the little holes, all the little spaces, so if it has 3, you can create up to 3 shipments worth. You would choose the captain to put your stuff onto a boat. Each boat can only hold 1 type of product. So let's say you put corn on it, then I can't put my indigo on there. Or if you put coffee on it, then I can, and then they only ever get dumped when they're completely full.
So you can only have like the SS coffee ship or the SS corn ship.
Until it's dumped out and it's shipped out, and then when it comes back, it can be.
So can we both have corn on there?
Yes, but then it would be a corn only ship.
So in the game you can achieve victory points or you can gain money. Both are important. Victory points will ultimately help tip the game in your favor to help you win at the end, but money is important to continue to expand your exploits in Puerto Rico. You've got plants, mills, markets, haciendas, construction huts, warehouses, wharfs. You've got a lot of different buildings here, and that's why it's important to use the quarries. The quarries, again, help you reduce the cost of your buildings, and those buildings help you produce more so you can gain more money, gain more influence, and get more victory points. Toward the very end of the game, you want to spring for the bigger buildings, such as City Hall, Customs House, Fortress, Residence, or the Guild Hall. Okay, let's play! I got doubloons burning a hole in my pocket.
At this time period, it would probably be doubloons burning a hole in your satchel.
Oh, nice satchel. I gotta get a new one of those. Alright. I'm gonna go with the large.